Nearly 20 years ago, Toyota started a new segment of vehicle with the original 2001 Highlander. It was a mid-size crossover SUV that blended all the traditional aspects of a sport utility vehicle that we liked, but married it with a car-like driving dynamics and better fuel economy. It instantly became a huge hit for Toyota, and other manufacturers scrambled to introduce their own versions. And today, Toyota says there are about 24 different SUVs to choose from if you guys are looking for a three-row crossover SUV. Which brings me to the all-new 2020 Highlander. This is the 4th generation model. Toyota says it's finally riding on the all-new TNGA architecture. It has a sleek new design. It's got a very tech-heavy interior with finally Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So the big question I want to answer, if you guys are looking to buy a new three-row family crossover, is the all-new 2020 Highlander the best one to buy? That's what we're here to find out. Now, the Highlander is a very important vehicle for Toyota because the company consistently moves over 230,000 units in America every year. It actually takes up about 9% of this market. It's like a 2.5 million unit a year sales for here in the US. So as you can see, with this all new 2020 Highlander, Toyota put a strong emphasis, or as they say, on sleek design. This 4th generation model has a look to me that is very evolutionary. If you guys look at the previous generation Highlander, it was also a relatively sleek looking SUV, and they've tried to make it a little bit sleeker for this all new version. You can see the one big change they made, finally, full LED headlights are standard equipment across all the trims. There are now 5 different trim levels, starting from the base L all the way up to this platinum hybrid model that I'm showing you here. This one here has a kind of an upgraded LED. They're adaptive LEDs, so they swivel. Whenever you turn the wheel, you have LED daytime running lights, LED low and high beams. Unfortunately, you just have an incandescent turn signal. I'm not entirely sure why Toyota decided to go with that route, but you do have, as you can see here, LED fog lights. That's also included on the upper trims. And as you can see here, the Platinum and the Limiteds have a chrome accented grille. The grille itself, again, has the Toyota emblem. You'll know this is the hybrid because it's got the blue accented badge. The radar sensor here for the adaptive cruise control and pre-forward collision warning, that's all mounted in that Toyota emblem. And overall, let me know what you think of the design. I think it actually looked okay when I first saw it. Here in person, there's certain elements of this car that reminds me of a Subaru. But in fact, this car looks a little bit more like a Subaru than the Subaru Ascent. So again, Toyota wanted to make it look a little bit sleeker. I just kind of wish they made it look more like a ballooned up version of the RAV4. I really like the way the current generation RAV4 looks with its rugged looks. This to me has more like a car-like look to it. Now, coming around the side profile, you can see as Toyota switched this over to the TNGA platform, they made it stronger and lighter, and they also stretched the wheelbase and overall length by about 2.4 inches. At 112.2 inches long in the wheelbase and around 194.9 inches long, this is still a couple inches shorter than something like the Honda Pilot, the Kia Telluride, the Hyundai Palisade. However, they have, Toyota says they've put that interior space into the cargo area, which we'll talk about in just a moment. This limited, or this Platinum model and the Limited come standard with 20-inch wheels. It's a kind of a unique finish on the Platinum. This is the first time that you can get 20-inch wheels on a Highlander, so it's really nice that they included that. The tires are still a little bit skinny though, only 235 width, so I imagine Toyota did that for fuel economy reasons. They have maintained the ground clearance for this vehicle at around 8 inches. So overall height and width stays roughly the same. They did stretch it, like I said, by about 2 inches. Now the door mirrors here, Toyota said they've relocated it from the pillar to the bottom of the door. That helps with improving the visibility and wind noise as well. This Platinum model has a panoramic sunroof. This is the only way you can get a pano sunroof, and it's got this nice little chrome treatment. And this blueprint dark blue exterior color, I think it actually looks really nice. Of course, Toyota says you can get this thing in a plethora of colors, but I think this is probably my favorite look on the Highlander. Now at the back, you can see it's also been slightly retweaked. It's got these skinnier full LED taillights. Toyota says full LED taillights are standard equipment on all the trims, although it looks like it has a incandescent turn signal there for the actual rear area. And then you can see the Platinum models have, you know, the badging, the prerequisite badging. You've got this nice little chrome bumper area. And then this one here being the hybrid, the exhaust is kind of hidden underneath there. You also have these nice parking sensors. I do like this silver painted area here for the bumper. I think that'll make it a little bit more durable for whenever you guys decide to back your Highlander into something in a crowded parking lot. Now, looking at the cargo area, you can see the Platinum and Limited will have a hands-free foot-activated liftgate. If you guys go for an LE trim, that'll include the power liftgate, but you have to go for the higher trims to give you the function where you could just kick your foot underneath there. And then because this vehicle is 2 inches longer, Toyota says they've stretched the cargo area. With the third row up, which is standard by the way, you're gonna get around 16 cubic feet of space. That's about 2 cubic feet more than the previous generation. So it's definitely nice, but keep in mind the Volkswagen Atlas, the Kia Telluride, offers about 18 to 21 cubic feet of space. So this is still a little bit smaller. Toyota does give you some nice little storage options underneath here, which is important because most of the competition also kind of gives you that storage feature. And then if you want to fold down this seat area over here, Toyota makes that pretty easy to do. Just kind of pull this lever over here. And then when you fold down the third row, they say you get around 48 cubic feet of space. If you fold down everything, which it looks like you can't actually fold down the second row from back here. Some competitors give you that option. Some competitors also give you an option to power fold the third row. Toyota says you get around 83.8 cubic feet of space. So that's really right in line with what you're gonna get in the Honda Pilot, but just know the Volkswagen Atlas, the Telluride, and Palisade offers a little bit more cargo space if you guys are looking for more. All right, so the exterior of the Highlander is definitely a more evolutionary change, but what about the interior? Well, first thing I'm gonna first show you here is the key fob for the vehicle. Toyota's Smart Key Access with Intelligent Access actually comes standard on every trim of the Highlander, which is a nice addition. You have a power opening liftgate there, and you've got push button start. So this key is their current key fob. Now, first things first, let's shut the door as well. It actually has a relatively solid thunk to it, which is interesting because I don't like the way the door sounds on the Camry, which rides on the same platform. This one just sounds a little bit more hefty to it. So that's a really nice improvement they've made there. When you want to start the car up, you guys know how to start up a car like this. Just put your foot on the brake, push the blue power button because I'm in this hybrid model to start everything up. And because we're in the hybrid, obviously there's no traditional engine startup noise. And you can see here, this Platinum version that I'm showing you with the glazed caramel interior. This is exclusive to the Platinum trim with this kind of two-tone with the dark brown on the dash, the black trim everywhere, the fake wood, the aluminum accents. This is definitely much more luxurious than the previous generation. In fact, I even say there are some elements of this interior that remind me of a Lexus, especially when you look at this massive 12.3-inch display. Some of the switchgear in here kind of looks like it's more befitting of a Toyota versus a Lexus product, like the buttons here, the turn signal stalks. But overall, it's a very nice first impression and a huge improvement over the previous generation, which had a very dated interior. Now, Toyota actually didn't make this new generation that much wider, and you kind of feel that at first because it doesn't feel quite as open and spacious as the competitors, especially something like the Pilot or the Telluride, which also feel a lot wider. But let's dive into the materials in here because this fully loaded Platinum definitely has some nice stuff in here. The seats, first of all, are kind of like an upgraded leather seat. They're heated and cooled. They offer a 10-way power adjustment with 2-person memory. This is only a 4-way power on the passenger side. That's a little disappointing. They are very soft and supportive. I do like the seats. The dashboard, as you can see here, has some genuine stitching and some fake stitching. The upper portion over here is soft touch, but it's got a faux stitching on it. Over here, you've got this texturized silver trim that tries to look like carbon fiber, piano black plastic. And then over here, there's genuine stitching here. This is the same leather that you find on the seats, and the little storage shelves from the previous generation Highlander are carried over here. So that's very nice. The door panels are also soft touch plastic, which is nice. That faux wood grain trim. All the windows are one touch automatic up and down, which is again, very nice addition. I think a lot of buyers are going to really like that. Now, this Platinum model that I'm showing you also has an upgraded 11-speaker, 1200 watt JBL sound system, which Toyota is very proud of. I was listening to it earlier. It sounds okay, but to be honest, it doesn't really stand out in the way that some of the competitors, systems like, I'm talking about the Harman Kardon ones you'll find in the Subaru, in the Telluride, and the Palisade. So that's something to keep in mind. It's an improvement over the old JBL system, but it's only limited to the limited trim and the Platinum. All the other trims have a downgraded sound system. Now, looking at the center stack here, this new 12.3-inch display is standard on Platinum, optional on limited. It's about $1,000 extra if you want on the limited. As you can see here, Apple CarPlay does not take up the entire screen, which kind of annoys me. This climate screen here, I thought you could make it go away by pushing this. Instead, it just puts it on the other side. So I think Toyota should consider doing a little update here that makes this take up the entire screen, because I like the fact that it has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and Amazon Alexa. But for example, if I pull up Waze, I want it to take up the entire screen. This does not need to be here when you've got the separate hard buttons. So that's something, a quick software update that they could fix. I think they should consider doing. The rest of the Toyota interface here, you can see Toyota doesn't actually call this Entune anymore. They've gotten rid of the Entune branding. Instead, this is their latest, software system. You can see there's the CarPlay. When you want to go to the actual regular audio system, you can see Toyota's is very easy to use. You've got your usual audio sources, your presets are down there. When you put the vehicle into reverse, You can see this platinum grade model has a full 360 camera. The camera resolution quality itself is not, amazing like what you'd find in some of the luxury brands, but as you can see, Toyota has done a very good job with making this thing look very nice. If you push this little button here on the dash, you can see there's a bird's eye view 360 degree representation of what's around the vehicle. I think that does look pretty cool, but again, the screen could be a little bit brighter here and the graphics could be a little bit sharper, but it is very nice that Toyota gives this to you. It is only standard on the platinum grades. The limited will not have, this cool 360 camera. Tri-zone climate control is standard on every Highlander, even the base trim. You can see there's a volume knob here, a tuning knob, which is nice. You've got your 3-level heated seats. You've also got the ventilated seats, which come on the limited and up trim levels. I like the design of the dash vents here. The center console area over here has 2 large cup holders, some storage. You've got 3 USB ports over here across, and then this traditional gear lever controls the CVT transmission that's in this one, 8-speed automatic on the gas models. It does include a sport shift area, but no paddles on the wheel. I'll have to check if the gas model has that. And then you can see your drive mode selector is over here. It's a little toggle that goes between sport, normal, and eco. There's even an EV mode on the hybrid version, which will allow you to toot along on electric only for short distances. There's a cool little wireless charger over here, which you can turn on and off. It does cover up some space when you go into the center console, but you can see it's a very deep center console. There's a traditional power outlet in there. This wireless charger is definitely nice, and if you want, you can close this up. This is, again, taken from the previous generation Highlander. It's a very nice, center console overall. Above me, there is a gigantic panoramic sunroof. Unfortunately, this is only included on the platinum grade trim. The other trims will just have a standard half-size sunroof. The platinum also includes this really nifty 10-inch heads-up display. That's a first for a Highlander as well. And then the glove compartment here, you can see, is actually a little bit small, but it is damped, not lined with felt. There are a lot of other storage options here, so I'm okay with the glove compartment being small. Overall, the interior, definitely a huge improvement in terms of technology, in terms of features. Just know that it's not quite the roomiest feeling cabin, and that comes down to the fact that the Highlander is about 2 inches narrower than the competition. Now, of course, the Highlander being a family crossover, let's hop into the second row here and see how the space compares. Now, the first thing I want to talk about, this platinum grade model does come with captain's chairs. If you guys want an actual bench here to increase seating capacity to 8, it's actually standard on the L and LE. XLE and up trims have the second row captain's chairs as standard. You can option in the bench seat if you guys want on the XLE or limited, but platinum only seats 7 people. Now, the second row area actually is very spacious. Toyota says that they've increased the legroom here by about 2 inches. They rated it about 41 inches of legroom, which is pretty good. This is actually more than what you get in the Telluride and the Pilot. However, I did notice the Toyota downgraded their front seat legroom from like 44 to 41. So it looks like they took the legroom from the front and gave us to the second row seating here, which is, I guess, okay if you guys, don't want more space in the front. Now, the one thing they also did improve, this seat back here actually slides a little bit better. Toyota has improved the... What the f? Hold on. Where's the... Oh, okay, sorry. No, sorry. Okay. Now, the one thing that Toyota did improve is the amount of adjustability. You could slide the seats forward and back. So there's a second lever here. If you pull that, they said that they've increased the amount this slides and travels by about 1.2 inches. Now, they did that because if the third row passenger wants a little bit more space, I can kind of scoot this seat forward. I can scoot it up all the way to where my knees are basically in the front seat. So again, if there's somebody in the third row back there who's taller, you could essentially say you don't get any space in the second row, but the third row gets more space. You do have these nice little armrests here that fold down, obviously. You've got 2 cup holders down here. There are your own set of rear heated seats back here. It's got 3-level heated seats, your own set of climate control stuff, and then you can see here 2 USBs and a regular household power outlet, which is very nice. You can also see there's 2 mat pockets, and the floor is almost completely flat back here. So if you guys do get the bench seat option, you could put a third row or middle passenger here, okay? And then I really like the pano sunroof. It's a pity that only comes on this top of the line platinum grade, which does let in a lot of light. So let's hop into the third row now and see how Toyota has improved it for this generation. So these 3-row crossovers have essentially replaced the minivans here in America. So the third row space is often a very important consideration. Now, Toyota says they've improved that this year. To get back here, it's pretty easy. With the captain's chairs, you just pull on this little lever here at the top of the seat. That again makes it recline forward, and then you can push the seat out of the way. It does reveal a good amount of space to get back here, but looking at the actual space, the legroom does not look great. So let me get back there. I'm not very tall at 5'7". Let me show you guys the space. Now, getting back here, you can see, sorry, I have muddy shoes, Toyota. Getting back here and squeezing back here, you can see I definitely would ask the passenger here to move their seat forward because my knees are essentially in the seat back here with the seat all the way back. Now again, if they move the seat slightly forward, which I cannot do from over here, I have to actually physically ask someone to sit in the seat to move it up. Toyota says you get around 27 inches of legroom back here. The floor, surprisingly, is high up. My knees are practically in my face almost. The seat back bench, or the bench back here, is a little bit on the low side for me. I wish it was mounted a little bit higher. Headroom here is good. Again, if somebody sitting back here is my height at 5'7", it's still very tight. So forget about putting somebody back here who's over 6 foot. In terms of stuff back here, there isn't really anything. There's no USB charging ports. You do have 2 cup holders on each side, and this seat back does slightly recline forward and back a little bit. But overall, the third row, it's not very spacious compared to the competitors. So if you guys are looking for third row that can actually accommodate adults, you still may want to check out something like the Telluride, the Palisade, the Atlas, the Pilot, and maybe even the Subaru Ascent. So now that the Highlander is all new and running on an all new platform, you're probably wondering what's going on underneath the hood of this vehicle. Well, Toyota will offer the Highlander with 2 different engine options. The 4-cylinder, the base 2.7 liter 4-cylinder of the old generation has been replaced. It's gone. The base engine is now a V6. It's the 3.5 liter V6 that we liked from the previous generation. It's got the Toyota's direct end port injection. It still makes 295 horsepower. That's near the top of the segment, and 263 pound-feet of torque. It all goes out through an 8-speed automatic transmission. You'll be able to tow a maximum of 5,000 pounds, and Toyota has also improved the fuel economy. The all-wheel drive model will get 20 in the city, 27 on the highway, or 21, 29 if you guys go for the front drive model. Toyota offers either a choice of front or 2 different all-wheel drive systems on the gas-only versions. Now, this is probably the one that a lot of greenies or eco-minded shoppers are going to be wanting. This is the Highlander Hybrid. Toyota's offered a Highlander Hybrid since 2006, and this year it gets an all-new powertrain. Instead of the old V6, remember Toyota used to pair this with a 3.5 liter V6. It's now paired with a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder with the Atkinson cycle, so the more efficient cycle. This is essentially the same powertrain that powers the Toyota Camry, the Toyota RAV4, the Toyota Avalon Hybrid, and the Lexus ES300. Now, in the Highlander, it has been beefed up. They say that the electric motors are stronger. They're about 10% more efficient. It still runs on a nickel metal hydride battery, which has the same amount of cells. It hasn't really changed. Toyota says they've kept the battery the same because they want to keep costs down and reliability high. It does make 243 horsepower combined. That's about 31 more horsepower than you get in the RAV4, so it's a nice healthy jump. But remember, the old V6 Highlander Hybrid offered 306 horsepower, so that's a 63 horsepower reduction. And of course, with Toyota hybrids, they don't quote the torque figure when you combine the overall output. Now, the fuel economy is the main reason why they switched to a 4-cylinder. This is now rated up to 36 in the city, 35 on the highway, 36 combined. If you guys go for the front drive model, the all-wheel drive model drops it down to 35 combined. The amazing thing is if you guys go for the front drive model, Toyota says the range of this vehicle is over 600 miles. That's best in class fuel economy. And honestly, we live in an age where you can get a 3-row crossover that has nearly 40 mpg. Now, with this new platform, Toyota has reduced the weight. They say they've reduced the weight by about 250 pounds across the board. This hybrid model that I'm showing you weighs around 4,600 pounds. That's about 300 to 400 pounds less than the previous generation. It all goes out through an eCVT with the hybrid system. So I'll show you guys driving scenes on both, but let's get these vehicles out on the road and see how they perform. So to start off the driving scene, we're in the hybrid model. Now, Toyota says they roughly did about 10% of Highlander sales as the hybrid for the previous generation, and they downgraded it from a V6 to a 4-cylinder. So I am definitely a little concerned about power, but they said not to worry, so let's put our foot down here. And this one is actually the front drive model. I'm feeling a little bit of wheel tugging or torque steer at the wheel, just ever so slightly. But I have to admit, for a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, remember this is the same powertrain that's in the RAV4 hybrid, this is actually kind of peppy. Toyota said the front drive model will get to 60 in around 8 seconds for the hybrid version, around 7.7 if you guys go for the all-wheel drive model because you have that separate rear electric motor. But really, the responsiveness of this powertrain is pretty good. I mean, it's got an eCVT. You feel that the electric system is filling in the gaps for the 4-cylinder. It's got the typical, 4-cylinder engine noise, but it doesn't sound horrible. Now, granted, I didn't have much opportunity to drive the old V6 hybrid, which had 306 horsepower. This one has 243, so it's about 30 more horsepower than the RAV4 hybrid. But I think for most people, they're going to be okay with this acceleration. I need to hop into the V6, which I'll do after I drive the hybrid version later today. But the Highlander hybrid's acceleration, power, smoothness, this is pretty much on par with what people are going to expect, and you can't beat the fact that this now gets, up to 36 mpg. The one we're driving will get 35 mpg because of the bigger wheels and tires. They drop it down by about 1 mpg. But the rest of the driving dynamics for this car, I have to say, they're very typical of the Highlander. It's smooth, it's refined, it's quiet. The Highlander's always been the Camry of SUVs, and that tradition still continues. I mean, there is part of me that thinks this SUV is a little bit bland to drive, but that's okay. That's what you expect in this segment of vehicle. The Telluride and the Palisade, which I consider the segment leaders, don't drive particularly more engaging than this. You really learn to appreciate the agileness of the Highlander because this car is 2 inches narrower. It feels 2 inches narrower for sure. The interior is not quite as roomy, but overall visibility is good in here. The new hood has some extra creases in it, so you kind of have to get used to seeing that, but it's a good view out of the front. Big side mirrors. You've got Toyota Safety Sense P 2.0 is standard, so all the latest in driver assistance tech. The steering in the car, I have it in sport mode right now, is very light and devoid of feel and numb, which is fine. That's what you expect in the segment. This is definitely not the sporty entry in the segment. Go buy the Mazda CX-3 or the Subaru, or CX-9 or the Subaru Ascent if you guys are looking for the best handling ones. But the ride quality is very nice in this car. For a car that has 20-inch wheels, it's got the adaptive suspension, it's fully independent. It rides like a dream. This is perfect for families, on a long road trip. I don't feel any impact harshness or bumps. It's also pretty quiet in here as well. Some of the roads here in San Antonio are not the best, they're not the smoothest, and I'm finding very little road noise, very little wind noise. And engine noise is, perfectly fine, especially if you're not pushing the engine as hard as I would, to show you guys the testing of this vehicle. But I do want to try this acceleration from a stop really quick. We'll come to a stop here. I was turn off the traction control. This will probably make the wheels spin a lot because it's front drive, but it's in sport mode here. Let's put our foot down. Yep, you might want to consider all-wheel drive if you guys live in a snowy climate. But they say 8 seconds. I believe them. This is pretty peppy, to be honest. Now, I worry when you load this thing up with, 7 people. Remember, you can fit this up to 8 people. With all the extra weight, it probably will feel a little bit taxed. So I would probably say go for the V6 instead. The V6, remember, also tows more. That one tows 5,000 pounds versus the 3,500 on this one. Although it is the same towing capacity as the old Highlander, which had the V6 and 306 horsepower. But really, there's very little annoyances of this car. The one huge improvement they did is this massive infotainment screen here. As you can see, as I mentioned earlier, the CarPlay does not take up the entire screen, which is a little annoying. Even if you push this button here, it kind of just moves the climate control to the other side. I really want Toyota to make it so it takes the whole screen. But this level of technology that they've put in the Highlander is definitely where the old one was, had the weakest link. This screen here with this screen over here, the heads-up display, the comfortable seats, the quiet, serene cabin. This is a car that is going to make it to a lot of people's short list, but here's the thing about this segment, it's ultra competitive. There's the Pilot, there's the Kia Telluride, the Hyundai Palisade, there's the Subaru Ascent, the Volkswagen Atlas, there's the new, GM vehicles, the Traverse and the Acadia. The Highlander, obviously, fits into this segment really well, and it's got its place. And Toyota tried to make this thing stand out. In terms of design, I don't think it stands out that much. I'm not really a big fan of the looks, but I am a big fan of the interior and how plush it is and how quiet it is. In terms of driving dynamics, very little annoyances, so I think most buyers who purchase a car like this are going to be quite happy. But let me hop into the gas model. I want to show you guys really quick how the gas model drives, because about 90% of you are probably going to end up buying the gas-only version.
It's not going to make me spill my coffee. It's amusing.
So much wheel spin and a little bit of torque steer. Get all-wheel drive if you want this car. So the Highlander Hybrid is definitely the one that the greenies are going to go after with its 600 miles of range. However, the gas model is the one that Toyota sells roughly about 90% of. Although they are hoping that the take rate for the Highlander gas to V6, or the hybrid to V6, is going to be around 80-20. me for this new generation. The V6 is probably the one that most of you are most curious about. So I switched over to this XLE trim, which is technically the one that Toyota says is the volume selling model. Its sticker price is around $42,000. It's got all-wheel drive. It's got the 8-speed automatic. This engine is essentially carried over from the previous generation, but it is hauling around a vehicle that has about 250 pounds less fat. So it should be slightly quicker in terms of the 0 to 60 performance. So let's test out the acceleration really quick. I'll just turn the traction control off. This has all-wheel drive, so we'll just floor it. It is definitely quicker than the hybrid, that's for sure. And it's kind of a shame because the hybrid used to be the faster of the two, but clearly the V6 has the advantage when it has 295 horsepower. Put your foot down here, and the 8-speed automatic is a very engaging partner. It shifts quickly enough. It's very smooth. The engine also sounds good. So I have to say I'm liking the V6 a lot more than the hybrid model, and it's also cheaper to boot. Now, granted, this one rated at 20 in the city, 27 on the highway. Obviously, it's not going to get as good a gas mileage, but if you're going to be regularly towing, regularly hauling people in the vehicle, you may as well go for the 6-cylinder option because it does pair very nicely with the Highlander's reduced weight. Wheel spin there. Yeah, I have to say, this feels like a 0 to 60 of under 7 seconds. I'd say it's probably a half a second improvement over the previous generation. Toyota's got a really great powertrain. I mean, this V6 is tried and true. It's proven. They've had it in their lineup for years. It's going to be reliable, and it's just a really, really great powertrain for this vehicle. Even just driving it normally, it's a very smooth engine. The transmission, obviously tries to go to its top gear very quickly, but it's willing to downshift a few gears whenever you put your foot down. The XLE model that I'm in has 18-inch wheels, and I'm noticing the ride quality is roughly the same as the Platinum with the 20s. The Highlander in general just has a really great ride quality. These seats are also relatively soft as well. They're not cooled though on this XLE grade. They're just heated. You also lose the heated steering wheel that comes on the limited trim as well. No heads-up display, but you do have the Toyota Safety Sense 2.0, which is really nice. I mean, really for a volume-selling model, with Toyota saying that people are going to mostly buy this one, I think it's going to make a lot of people happy for the mid $40,000 range. And this definitely has plenty of power. It feels quicker than the Telluride, actually. This feels quicker than the Telluride and Palisade because the engine just feels a lot smoother. It's willing to rev a little bit more. This is very comparable to the last Pilot I drove with their 3.5-liter V6, but I will say that Toyota's 8-speed auto is better than the ZF 9-speed that you'll find in the Honda products. Now, when the first generation Highlander came out about 20 years ago, it started the mid-size SUV segment, and it grew to basically attract a cult following because it blended the SUV practicality that people liked with the car-like driving dynamics, the better fuel efficiency, and of course the Toyota nameplate, which promises reliability, durability, and quality. Now, fast forward, of course, to 2020, and this all-new 4th generation Highlander basically follows the same formula. It still very much feels like the Camry of SUVs, very luxurious on the inside, very comfortable. Now it's finally filled with high-tech features, and of course with this new hybrid powertrain, it's the most fuel-efficient 3-row crossover that you can buy today with up to 36 mpg. Now, of course, the design of this vehicle is not my favorite. I think Toyota could have made the Highlander stand out a little bit more, especially with there being 24 different choices out there for a 3-row crossover. I think the Telluride and the Palisade is still my personal pick for looks, although this kind of has the same kind of looks as like a Pilot or like an Ascent. The Atlas has a little bit more of that, boxier, rugged look to it. I think Toyota did what they could, but I think they also could have taken more risks with the design. So design is always, something that's subjective. A lot of you are going to be attracted by the interior, the high fuel efficiency, the promise of Toyota reliability and build quality. And when this all-new Highlander goes on sale on December 18th, so basically as this video is posting, this car will start at a base price of $34,600 for the base L with front-wheel drive. Now, if you compare this to 2019 model year, this is about $4,000 more expensive, but that also comes with an asterisk because the old Highlander had a 2.7 liter 4-cylinder as the base engine, which nobody bought because it was underpowered. Now, granted, if you compare the V6 models, this car starts only about $900 more versus the 2019 model. So it's a relatively good deal at about $1,400 for all-wheel drive. Now, if you guys want the hybrid model, I suspect a lot of greenies are going to want the hybrid. This is about $1,500 more than the gas LE model. Remember, the hybrid only comes in LE, XLE, Limited, or Platinum, so there's no base L for the hybrid. That makes the hybrid around $38,600 or $200 for the base front drive model, which is new this year. Add again about $1,400, $1,500 if you guys want all-wheel drive. Now the hybrid definitely is a pricey proposition at basically almost $40,000 to start. And from there on in, that's where the Highlander's pricing gets a little bit out of control. There are definitely more value-oriented players out there because if you guys want the limited grade versions, you're going to be spending the mid $40,000 for at least the limited. Toyota says that their highest volume model is going to be the XLE for around $40,000 to $43,000, depending on the option packages you get. But if you want all the tech stuff like the panoramic sunroof, the heads-up display, the 12-inch display over there, you know, the 360 camera and the heated and cooled seats, you have to go for at least the platinum trim or this limited grade or a limited grade model. And granted, this particular one that I'm showing you here is the most expensive way you can get a Highlander. This one here, being the platinum hybrid with all-wheel drive, starts at $50,200 plus $1,100 for destination. You're looking at over $51,000. Now, granted, this does have the best fuel efficiency in the business for 3 rows, but if you guys don't drive that much, it's gonna take you some time to actually get that money back. So remember, you can get a fully loaded Telluride or Ascent for around $46,000. This is a good $5,000 more expensive. Now granted, the hybrid model, you could save $1,500 if you guys go for the gas-only version. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2020 Toyota Highlander. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.